Ricochet, you just made the list. Yes, Chris Jericho brought back the greatest hits this week on Dynamite it was the go home Dynamite towards Dynasty this weekend, and Chris Jericho also chose Ricochet to be his opponent. But we'll get into that and everything else on Dynamite. Wow. Dynamite on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It went off the air about 3 or 4 hours ago, and it started with a crazy brawl in the parking lot. Ospreay and the Death Riders were fighting away. The Death Riders had the numbers game on Ospreay for a little bit. Then car pulls up. Out pops Alex Windsor from the Brawling Birds. And then out pops the rest of the United Empire, including the IWGP Heavyweight Champion Callum Newman. They battle in the parking lot. They battle on top of cars. It goes crazy. They get into the ring. And as the Death Riders finally decide, you know what? We're done. We're done for now. Ospreay takes the mic and challenges the Death Riders to a match in the main event. The United Empire and the Death Riders will do battle in the Dynamite main event. What a start! What a start to Dynamite. If you couldn't get any better than that for a start, it was all over the place, and it was crazy. It was nuts. It was great, and of course, get a great main event as well. Now to some unfortunate news. Now, last week on Dynamite, Carl Fletcher suffered an injury, and Don Callis is backstage, and he says, unfortunately, Carl is out for the foreseeable future, which means he does indeed have to relinquish the TNT Championship, which is a real shame, and Carl Fletcher's out. But the future of that championship, as I look at my notes, will be decided in a casino gauntlet match at Dynasty. So a little bit off the, you know, a little bit of an interesting match to be added ahead of Dynasty. It's all the last minute, um, last minute match to be added, which is great. Listen, it's going to be interesting to see who wins it. Long listed names could win the match on Sunday, and but we just wish Cole Fletcher a speedy, that's for sure. He also put himself over, and he put Okada and Takeshita over as Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen from the old days of the Chicago Bulls. But more on that in a minute. Now, from craziness to a six-man tag, and this was Darby Allin, Bandito deputizing from Brody King, who was at his friend's funeral, I believe, and Jingle Jack Perry. And they were taking on a team of the Don Callis family of Andrade El Idolo, Mark Davis, and Konosuke Takeshita. And do you know what? It was like you'd think to yourself, is this match going to be able to, we started this Dynamite with a massive brawl all over the place. Would it be able to keep the momentum going in? And the answer to that was absolutely. They done a brilliant job on this, and really, really enjoyed it. Fun, fast paced, six-man action. Mark Davis, I'm telling you, he he just seems to be able to adapt to any issue, any changes. He had the when he was teaming with Carl Fletcher, they had the injury, and then obviously he got injured, and then he comes back. He teams with Jake something or Jake. I forgot his last name in AEW now. Apologies. I'm going to call him Jake something for now. And Jake then gets injured himself, so he has to adapt again. Ever reliable, and you know what you're getting with Andrade and Takeshi there as well, and Bandito is a very, very good replacement for Brody, and of course his teammate in Brodito in this. But it was the DM from Andrade onto Jack Perry that picks up the victory for the Don Callis family. But I love to say butthole, however, when things go down after matches. Darby Allin got taken out with a low blow from Andrade. He exits the ring. But Mark Davis and Konosuke Takeshita are in there. Don Callis delivers a cheap shot, but as they do that, the young Bucks hit the ring and they clear out with super kicks, a super kick party from the young Bucks. They clear Davis out with the EVP trigger. They do set up Takeshita for the Meltzer driver, but Okada makes the save. And, the it appears the Rainmaker is trying to help Takeshita, but they enter a forearm exchange, and the Don Callis family have to separate it. This is what we're going on about here. Like, this is what's going on. The Takeshita Okada, happen to start coming to blows. But then we're still not finished because the Rascals surfaced to hit a suicide dive with Bandido. Okada was mocking Takeshita, but then he got taken out by Myron Reed, and the Rascals and the Bucks stand tall in the ring. It was crazy, but it's great to see because it's been bubbling for a while with Takeshita and Okada, and it is great to see that we're finally starting to get there, possibly. Anyway, but next up we get Doc Sampson. And Lexi Nair is backstage, and she was asking some questions about Kenny Omega's health. And Doc Sampson was, he acknowledged the fact that he's got diverticulitis. We know that. But he did say that Kenny Omega is in the best shape of his life. So, and he's been cleared to compete at Dynasty on Sunday, which pretty much we knew was going to happen anyway. But still, good to know that Omega is ready to go. And he certainly is, because we'll hear from him in a bit on Dynamite. Right. TBS Championship match. Willow Nightingale, Queen Anna Marta. Queen Anna Marta, we haven't seen in 160 odd days in AEW. Always great to see her. She was very impressive. I remember when she first come into it, and me and Dave were saying that she's got something there. There's something about her that's really, really good. And we'd hope to see more of her. And we have done in fits and starts over the course of that time. It's been a shame that she's been away. I think she's had an injury, if memory serves me right, Lee as well. But anyway, look, let's just be real about the situation though. The championship was never gonna change hands here. It certainly didn't. Gut wrench powerbomb from Willow Nightingale picks up the victory. I do think we're heading towards another Hikaru Shida Willow Nightingale match, and perhaps Shida will turn heel. It was good to see Shida, by the way. Again, another one that had been out. Seems to be that ever since I can't remember who published a report. Someone published a report on Twitter X about how long it's taken some of the women to have matches in AEW, and ever since then we've been crossing the list off because it's been happening quite regularly ever since. I don't know if Tony Khan's been watching or saw that list, but and decided, I'll tell you what, we're going to bring these women back. But goes to show you the strength in depth in the AEW roster. There is no doubt about it. We say it all the time on here about how stacked the rosters are, and you've. It is baffling. Well, not baffling. It's just incredible to see a roster full of such great talent. And when you even take away the ones that are injured, there is just so much talent on that roster. Now we already mentioned Mr. Chris Jericho. He makes his return. The crowd are a bit better tonight. I will say that. Jericho's holding a piece of paper. He did say that it's good to be back and he will sign his new AEW contract tonight. He did also say that he's taken a lot of risks in his career, and one of those risks was to go into AEW in 2019. He said he's excited to give back to the company that he helped start, and the business deserves the best version of him, which is why he's gotten into the best shape of his life. And he loves the company, he loves pro wrestling. Crowd love Jericho here tonight, and of course Edmonton on Sunday will love him as well. And as he says, it was time to sign the contract. Out comes the demand. Ricochet, Bishop Corn, and Toa Lioa. That's it. God, I'm getting names all over the place today. Um, Ricochet, he says he isn't here to talk about Canada. He's here to talk about Chris Jericho. He tells Jericho to relax. Bishop Corn would have already pulled the trigger if they were going to attack him as they come out. He said not to bother signing the contract. Don't bother. But he does give Jericho his flowers, putting AEW on the map. But he says while Jericho has been gone, Ricochet has established himself as the man around here. You know, he was obviously the AEW national. He was the inaugural national champion, and he claims that nobody wanted to see just Jericho back, saying to pack his bags and leave for his Jericho cruise. It was quite funny because he said like Ricochet takes off his cap at this point, prompting Jericho's like, "Wow, you're really bald." Hey, listen, Chris, there's nothing wrong with being bald, by the way, fella. All right, nothing wrong with that. All right, but he says he doesn't give a shit about what Ricochet has to say. There's a clause in his contract which allows him to pick his opponent at Dynasty. So there we go. He's like, do you know what happens when you're bald? Ricochet, you just made the list. That was great. Loved that. I did love that. I love that moment. It was great to see Jericho bring back some of the greatest hits. And the list that got over massively when he first brought that out. I'm hoping we're going to see more and more return of the Jericho or the list of Jericho. It's going to be interesting. Him and Ricochet this coming Sunday should be an interesting one. We made a lot of Chris Jericho's performances nearer the end of his time in AEW, and we're sort of saying that maybe it's time for him to go, and he obviously did. It'd be interesting to see how him and Ricochet do this coming Sunday at Dynasty. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing it, to be honest. See how we get on. Be interesting to see. Ricochet's a great worker, no doubt about that. Can we see some old school Jericho in here? Will the match live up to expectations? What are your expectations going into the Chris Jericho Ricochet match? I think I'm setting my bar, there. AEW always deliver pay-per-views. There's no doubt about that, and they always have, and they've been delivering great dynamites as well. But yeah, I'm not sure. Chris Jericho, we'll see. We'll see. I'm setting it here. I'll tell you on Monday whether it went here or not. You'll know Monday. Anyway, another match was set up for Dynasty. This being Konosuke Takeshita, Kazuchika Okada versus the Young Bucks. But actually, it was quite funny. Both men were surprised by that announcement. But Takeshita wanted a shot at Okada's international title. And Don Callis said, well, I'll tell you what. If Okada and Takeshita defeat the Young Bucks, then they can face each other at Double or Nothing. That prompted a handshake between Okada and Takeshita, but Okada pulls him closer and calls him, Takeshita, Scottie Pippen, meaning Okada is Michael Jordan. And it nearly started another brawl. Nearly, nearly, nearly. Before Don Callis popped in and said, remember, we're doing this for Carl Fletcher. But we are on it, literally, no pun intended. It is dynamite between those two, and it is about to explode between Takeshita and Okada. Whew, dear oh dear. And wait and see when that really does kick off because I'll be looking forward to it. It'd be interesting to see whose sides does Takeshita get kicked out of the Don Callis family. I think he will. I think that's the way they go. I think I've said that for a while. Takeshita will be having a face run very, very soon. Anyway, right. We had a Casino Gauntlet number 1 spot qualifier for this. And it was Tommaso Ciampa, Maraska Dorada in this match. And good match. Really, really good match. Tommaso Ciampa sort of back in with the TNT Championship hunt. He does pick up the victory with the running knee strike. I fully expect Tommaso Ciampa to become a 2-time TNT champion this coming Sunday. I think that's where we're going. I'd like to think that he'll get a bit more of we don't know how long from a meniscus injury. I think that Carl Fletcher's got that can be significant. I mean, we may not see Fletcher back this year if it's serious. That's how serious a meniscus is. If it is a meniscus injury, I'm pretty sure it is. But we may not see Carl Fletcher back for a very long time, and if we don't, it'll be a shame because he was riding that crest of a wave. We on here we were saying about how Carl Fletcher we could see as an AEW World Champion, but Tommaso Ciampa seems a logical choice. If Brody King's in there, Brody King could get his first singles title. I think that would be interesting, but I would think Tommaso Ciampa will pick it up. Now, the dogs were let out on Dynamite as David Finlay and Clark Connors and Gabe Kidd. They started to beat up Ricochet, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong from behind. They've said that there's no one left in the conglomeration after beating them up. And then Finley then challenges Mystico and Jet Speed to a match on Collision this Saturday prior to Dynasty. That'll be a fun match. That will be a fun match. I'll be looking forward to watching that one and talking to Dave about it potentially on the Week in Wrestling Roundup just before Dynasty. Thekla is talking about her match with Jamie Hayter coming up. She said there's one thing about Hayter she'll treat. Oh, she said she was quite funny. She said about she said if she hears one more thing about Hayter, she will treat Lexi Nair to a nice seafood dinner, then take her to a strip club, then break her fingers on the stage. Good old Thekla. She said that Jamie Hayter will not reclaim the championship and she will retain it. And I think Thekla will retain the championship. I don't see Jamie Hayter. I don't think there's enough in it yet for Jamie Hayter to pull out a victory here. She's got a lot going on with Alex Windsor and the Brawling Birds. They are probably going to end up in the feud at a later date. So for me, personally, that's how I see the match going. Now, Christian and Copeland ahead of the World Champion Tag Team Championship match at Dynasty. He drops the classic Patriot of AEW line. He said he's paid. Christian K said he paid Wheeler and Cash's mums a visit. By a visit, he means he had sex with them. Now, Copeland is holding on for dear life at this. Absolutely holding on for dear life with this, and he did add that he'll pay Stokely Hathaway's mum a visit as well, but as one half of the tag team champions. So after Dynasty, but Cope anyway. They do end up on the receiving end of a beatdown from FTR and Stokely Hathaway. The Christian's arm got stomped in a chair, and it led the commentators to think if Copeland and Christian will be in any shape to compete on Sunday, and whether they do, question their chances at the AEW Tag Team Championships. Speaking of championships, Darby Allin, he's still talking about the World Championship. He's obviously got Andrade this Sunday, and he wants to be because he wants to have, he wants to become AEW World Champion as the most important accomplishment in his career. And I think he'll do it. And he said he will be a world champion, and he become in all elite wrestling, and I think he will be. And Darby Allin probably deserves it out of them all. A pillar of the company when the pillars were talking about, when we were talking about pillars in AEW, certainly a pillar of the company. Really, really good. Darby Allin has been crazy motherfucker, and I think he does deserve the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. When will he get it? That's up for debate because you look at people in front of the list. There's a lot of people in front of that list, and Ospreay's there, obviously Omega, just to name a couple of people there. Moxley will always be there. Jericho will probably want it again at some point. It's a big list there. Big list. Main event action-wise on Dynamite, of course, was the United Empire versus the Death Riders, and this was a fantastic main event. I do feel for Francisco Akira, who couldn't put Daniel Garcia through a table using 2 attempts, which was funny. But this was crazy. This was absolutely nuts. It felt like they just carried on. Like they felt like they'd been fighting through the night. and it culminated in the ring, which you know they didn't obviously, but they could have done it that way. Um, which I really enjoyed. This was great. This really was great. It was really good to see Callum Newman in there. But I must stress, I feel that Callum Newman could potentially cost Ospreay this match on Sunday. And I go back to, I remember when it was. I think it was when Ospreay was coming back from injury or nearly back from injury, and he was over in Japan with the United Empire. This what not this last time, the time before. And if I remember rightly, he was with the United Empire. Callum Newman was actually behind him, and it looked like Callum Newman was going to attack Will Ospreay there and then. And I think we're going to get at some point Newman and Ospreay, whether it's in AEW, whether it's in New Japan, we're going to get it. And the fuse could be lit this coming Sunday at Dynasty with them two. I potentially, and the reason I say that even more so is because Ospreay hit the hidden blade through the table on Moxley for the victory in this match. They did also try and get him up for the Tiger Driver, but Claudio Castagnoli put pay to that. But my thing is, Callum Newman is like not going to want to play second fiddle to Will Ospreay. And he's going to want to show Ospreay that he is the real leader of the United Empire. Perhaps that's the route. Or does he hit Mox with the Tiger Driver? Or does he hit Mox with the Tiger Driver and then Callum Newman comes in and costs him? I just feel like Newman is going to cost Ospreay something at some point. Could he? Could now this is a shout. Could he cost Ospreay the World Championship at All In? We'll have to wait and see. But the United Empire pick up a big win on Dynamite. And now we go, of course, to the cleaner, the pro wrestling god, Kenny Omega. And, you know, he was recounting his journey, wrestling journey, starting it when he was 25. He brought up all the comments of MJF last week. Omega wonders what caused him to lose his cool. Was it MJF mentioning Ibushi? No. Was it his battle with diverticulitis? No, because you know they mention that every week on commentary. And Meg said MJF should have been the one who was angry because he cannot claim to have a body of work like Kenny's in Japan. But instead, it was Omega, of course, that lost his cool when he said AEW fans deserve a champion who is the greatest in ring, and that is not MJF. And he vows to claim the championship on Sunday. And of course, you're never going to talk about MJF without a rebuttal from MJF. And here he comes. And, you know, he brung up his health again. And he says this is Omega's last shot at the title. He wondering what Omega's excuse is going to be after he beats him on Sunday. And he says whether he still loses to MJF despite being the best version of himself. And Omega will suffer the same fate as everybody else who has stepped up to him. He said the God will fall on April the 12th, and he is better than you. You know it. And then Omega wonders if MJF will honor the tradition of shaking his opponent's hand for what could go down as a legendary main event. They tease a handshake, they don't give it, and then he sends a cheap shot, but Omega hits a V trigger and then takes off MJF's diamond ring and raises it to the crowd. And obviously the show then ends really good, actually, with Omega walking up the ramp and Friedman getting up in the ring to end Dynamite. Do you know what? Solid episode of Dynamite. It started crazy. The main, you know, with the brawl between the Death Riders and United Empire. The ending to the Chris Jericho Ricochet promo will be great. I'm still interested to see how that match is going to pan out on Sunday. Obviously, we had Willow and Queen Animata in a hard hitting contest. The Takeshita Okada rivalry has started properly now. Obviously, they got the Bucks on Sunday. It's just AEW are doing a great job right now. And I've been saying this for so long. They are on top of their game right now. Right now, they're the best thing on television. That is without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm so looking forward to Dynasty this coming Sunday. Make sure you're watching it as well. We'll be back on reviewing Dynasty, of course, on Monday. So check that out. We'll also have the review of TNA Rebellion on Sunday this week. And wrestling's coming back. We're sitting down with a former popular AEW superstar. A bit later on today, myself and my good friend Gary Joe will be in the booth for that. Looking forward to sharing that with you. But dropping later today, our TNA exclusive with Harley Hudson, Hudzilla, comes to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Make sure you go and watch that and watch all of the other stuff that we've got on the channel right now. Independent showcases on there. Just go watch it all. And follow us at HTT Buckle everywhere. But until next time, everybody, stay elite and goodbye.